right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to God, the Creator of the Universe podcast. My name is Sean. It is March 13th, 2018. Which camera am I looking at here? Have a special guest today, Rob Decker. We've been chatting for a while now, back and forth online. And just one moment, and I will pull him up. So, very wonderful day here in Canada. And there we go, got Rob there. Here we go, multicam view. I love this. I love the anticipation. So Rob, let me get my notes out.
Yeah, for sure.
How you doing today? Oh, check that out. See what fell later. I'm gonna change the camera there. Yeah, I get you up on the screen there. So, did you want to introduce yourself or?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm Rob Decker. A little bit about who I am. I'm a personal trainer in Southern California. You know, the way that Sean and I met was, you know, he had just created a podcast and I reached out with him because I love sharing my story. It's a great story of, you know, struggle and desperation and hopelessness, but it gets turned around into a story of encouragement and hope and faith and love and compassion. And so I'm very honored and privileged to be on Sean's show today.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about this. I had just gone through a crisis, and I've been telling this to a lot of friends and family. About 3 weeks ago, I had a lot of things happen all at once, and basically I ended up calling the suicide prevention hotline. I was on the phone with them for 3 hours, and it was 4 or 5 days later that you contacted, you know, our group. But you didn't know what was going on in, you know, for me or who we were, and I really take that as a miracle or divine intervention. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Absolutely, you know, and that's just the way God works, you know, and I'm glad that my story made an impact on you and it developed a friendship. So.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to boost your volume a little bit there. Okay. Because when the introduction video was playing, it was a little too loud. Yeah, so let me jump into my notes here. Yeah, because your testimony is just something else, to be honest with you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I wouldn't have been able to get through it without God, so thank you.
Yeah, let's just jump into here. So, yeah, not many people for me know what it's like to share your life publicly, and that was a big deal for me when I, you know, getting to know you, and then I'm going to try to look at the camera, getting to know you, being friends on Facebook, chatting back and forth, but you know, looking through your pictures, seeing your family, seeing the people that you train and work with, and reading your story, because you know, especially the written part of it, you really go deep into your past and your childhood.
Right.
And is that just something for you that like it's better to be open and honest, or?
Well, I truly believe I believe that in order for me to make an impact on other people, I have to be completely transparent about the things that have happened to me in my life. And you know, even though they are some dark episodes in my life, the truth is that a lot of people can say that they've experienced those things and they've been afraid to talk about them or share them. And you know, I just know that God put it on my heart to just reach out to the world and be like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, like this is how I got through it. It wasn't always easy, you know. And you're talking about drugs and alcohol and bad relationships and physical, emotional abuse. I was even molested as a kid. You know, it's just you know, the suicide attempt, you know, jumping headfirst out of the window trying to take my life. You know, there's just so many different areas in my life that I can share with people that I've been able to come out of, you know, and as you can see, life is pretty good.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really like, so I just fixed that. I have the same thing almost. That was one thing that was really shocking to me, to see the parallels, because I was molested as a child too, and it really can mess a person up, you know, going forward. You know, let's move on, because this kind of connects with it, the aspect of relationships and broken relationships or dysfunctional ones. My notes are all over the place here, but I think we
Okay.
can wing it. Um, what would you say to someone, that is, caught up to, in the sense that they don't really even see it. They don't even know that they're in that dysfunctional relationship.
I think that you have to recognize it. There has to be some kind of recognition and awareness that something isn't right. And I'm sure that something tugs at them, saying, this isn't right. Um, this isn't acceptable. There's a better approach. There's a better way. There's a healthier avenue to take. And so, I think the first step is just kind of recognizing all that stuff, and then from there you can kind of start working on those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it comes to relationships, a lot of times there's things that we have to work on with ourselves before we pull somebody else in. Not to say that we'll, be a perfect package when we enter someone's life. Sometimes a person will enter your life to help improve it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there are things that you need to do for yourself in order to be healthy for you, to be healthy for somebody
Oh,
else. Because at the end of the day, our end game is to want to get married and to have children and to raise a family in that cycle.
yes. Just 1 second here. It's telling me it disconnected. Okay, we're live again here. Um, yeah, to break that cycle, it's tough, man. I've
Yeah, for sure.
gone through this relationship, and did you rush into relationships, or?
Well, for sure. I mean, yes. I always, but it was more out of boredom or just feeling like I needed to be in one. I
Mm-hmm.
found some type of worth being in a relationship. Like someone liked me, someone cared about me, someone found me attractive. It's those are kind of some of the reasons you don't want to be alone. Is another
Mm-hmm.
reason that you'll jump into a relationship. And so, yeah, and there were times I had several relationships at one time. You know,
Yeah.
um, very selfish of me, but not to defend my behavior, but you just kind of get into a survival mentality, and you just got to do what's best for you. You know, it's very very self-centered.
Yeah, I've never had more than one relationship, but there was times where I was, juggling women, and I wasn't
Yes.
honest. I would kind of, I know watching your videos, you would talk about using your charm, and you're into fitness, you're in shape,
Yeah.
and there's sometimes with women, I don't know if you would do like this, but I would like lower my standard in a sense, and I knew I didn't want a relationship with them, but the flesh, you know, it's hard, especially late at night.
Oh, I get it. Yes, but it was tough because I did abuse a lot of these characteristics that I have. I tend to be an easy guy to get along with.
Hmm.
I crack a lot of jokes, and I was a charming guy and relatively good looking and fit, and so I would use all those things to draw people. It was just like bait for a fish. You would start using those things to draw people to you, and then you would take advantage of the situation.
I want to flip it up here because one thing that I really appreciated is going through your family pictures, and your wife, she looks different, man. She looks like a good, wholesome person, a loving,
She is.
caring, um, and your son too. I really love that clip where you got him on your shoulders and you're doing like squatting or whatever. It's
Yeah,
something
just
else.
trying to instill the fitness portion of myself into him. Being active and moving
Hmm.
and having fun with all that stuff. And I'm excited to have him and to be able to raise him. So yeah, thank you. That's a great clip. I love that clip myself.
It's pretty kick ass, and someday he's gonna look back on that and all of this. He's gonna listen
Yeah.
to all your podcasts. I don't know for you, but I I had a hard time to. I had a daughter now. She's almost 14, but
Yeah.
I never wanted a son because I thought I never had that father son relationship, so I
Yeah, I
was
get
always
that.
nervous.
I get that. Well, neither did I. I mean, my biological father was never around, and then my stepfather raised me, but he was gone a lot, and my mom and him didn't really get along too well. So, I was always yearning for that type of attention for sure, and wanting that. And so by raising a son, you kind of get to provide what wasn't there for you.
Yeah. And how old were you? Because when I was listening and reading, you didn't know right away that he was your stepfather. Like he raised you as his own, was it?
Yeah, so, it was in kindergarten where I found out that he wasn't my biological father. I came home with a certificate one day of graduation, and it had his last name on it. And turns out his mother, my grandmother, excluded me from the family, said that I wasn't one of them and that I had to remove my last name. And so, that day in kindergarten, I found out that he wasn't my father and that my sister was only my half sister.
Wow, that's hard, man.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but it was okay, I guess. But that you don't understand the impact that makes on kids at such a young age, because that carries you through life.
Hmm.
Even though you're not directly thinking about those things, it definitely makes an impact, because it's a sense of being isolated and a form of rejection, that you kind of carry along with you your whole
Hmm.
life.
And I've been trying my best, therapy, self-help therapy. An issue that comes up a lot is abandonment. So I
Yeah,
don't
for sure.
know.
That's another one,
Mm.
abandonment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So what we got here? Transformation, change of who you were at a core, deep level, new creation. Because we are talking about Jesus Christ here. We're
Yes,
talking
we
about
are.
God. Um,
Well, we're
mhm.
talking about those abandonment issues and rejection and isolation, and it was because of my relationship with him
Mhm.
that all that disappeared. So, um, definitely, those things can change when you receive the Lord.
Yeah. Um, I don't know where to jump in here because I know in the CBN video there is that part where you were invited to a Bible study,
Yes, yes.
and so did you want to elaborate on that a little
Yeah,
bit?
for sure. What happened was, is I worked with this young man who, he had just found the Lord, and he he looked up to me at my work.
Hmm.
I was the outgoing, charming ladies' man. And had all the friends. Everybody liked me, and I think that he liked those things in me, even though they may have been worldly. He liked those things, and he was a lot more reserved to himself, and he didn't really feel great about himself, but he had Christ, and so I think he looked up to me, and the fact that I never rejected him. I was like, dude, he is who he is. He's a cool dude, and he had a good heart, and I really liked the heart that he had, and so he remained kind of pressing me a little bit about the Lord, and when things just went all downhill for me, where I wasn't working, I was drinking, using drugs, broke up, and from my girlfriend at the time, like, he invited me to a Bible study, and in that Bible study, I received Christ, and it was a very powerful experience. And you know, eventually I walked away from that because I'm an idiot, but yeah, um, that's what happened. He invited me to a Bible study, went to it, got saved, and that was kind of the beginning of it all with my relationship with Christ.
Should move the camera over there. Um, you know, when you were in the hospital, how long were you in the hospital for?
6 weeks the first time. The first time was about 6 weeks.
Oh, okay, because I was
Yeah.
thinking it was like 6 months.
Oh no, they wanted me out of there. I think the way that it was the state was covering my bill,
Uh-huh.
and so it wasn't like a legit insurance. So the hospital couldn't really make money off of me. That's the reality. Everything's a business, right? And the bill just kept getting bigger and bigger, and they wanted me out of the hospital. So after about 6 weeks, I wasn't in that great of condition. I actually had two surgeries while I was there. Well, no, like four surgeries while I was there, because I had
Wow.
two on my back and then a couple more on my arms. Um, but yeah, they just wanted me out of the hospital. So I ended up getting out in 6 weeks, and I actually had to squeeze out like the last two. They were trying to get me out a lot sooner.
That's
And
crazy
so,
though.
yeah, man.
What
Well,
one
I'm
of the
gonna move to your country and use your healthcare, bro.
yeah,
Heard
that's
you
it.
guys are pretty legit with it, so
It is too, and I know I have a lot of American friends that complain and oh, you
yeah.
gotta wait in line all day. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're like if your back is broken, you don't mind to wait, if it's free.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain because I got the help. I
Hmm.
definitely received the help. It's it just has its own challenges, man.
Yeah, most definitely. One of the members in the group, his name is Frank. He lives in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
his brother fell down some stairs and broke his leg, and this the bolts, nuts and bolts in his leg. I can
Yeah.
imagine. All right.
Yeah. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of hardware in my body. I get it.
Whew. So let me scroll down here. It says you started drinking at like 14, 15 ish.
Yeah. Yeah. It all just started as a fun thing. I think what it was is I went to a girlfriend's house and her father's friend was watching us. We were like 15, didn't really need to be watching us, but he was
Yeah.
there and he actually bought us alcohol. It was the first time I ever got drunk.
Oh wow.
And so it started there, but I kind of liked it. Even though I felt crummy the next day, I kind of liked it. And from there, it kind of just took off. It just opened up a big black hole
Yeah.
and sucked everything in. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got to hear a quote from you. Great release from reality.
Yes, great release from reality. I didn't have to deal with my problems, and I had a lot of them.
And then we
You
got
know, I
yeah. Sorry.
go. Oh, go ahead.
Alcohol was never good for me, and then you moved to weed, X, acid, coke. When
Hmm.
I was a teenager, I was really into the acid a lot.
Yeah,
Were you always in California?
for the most part. Yeah, for the
Not to
most part.
associate acid in California, but
Right, right, right. No, it's yeah. It was pretty much most of my life has been spent in California.
yeah, it's something. I took a video earlier when I was walking from the coffee shop just to show everybody the crappy weather we're having today. Yeah, so in your 20s, cool people I met, and that was something I wanted to go back to, you know, back and forth. But you had a lot of friends in your 20s. Have you been able to keep in contact with them?
For
And
sure, absolutely. There's actually a few. One from my childhood that I'm still in contact with, and I love him very much. He went through a lot of the same stuff I did, and we've been friends since children. And then when I got to high school, my best friends, they're cousins. They pretty much took me in my teen years. Their family tried their best to keep me out of trouble, and they let me live with them throughout my late teens and my
okay.
20s, and throughout different homes with
Hmm.
the aunts and uncles and grandmas and stuff like that. So they brought me in like family for sure, and they took really good care of me, and they loved me, and they fed me, and they sheltered me, and they showed me love. I can't say that you know my life has been a complete catastrophe because there were some really good people that came
Hmm.
along the way. So yes, and I'm still friends with them, and I love them. They're like brothers to me. So
Yeah, and I kind of the same thing. When you have a dysfunctional home, your friends and their family, they do kind of take you in. Another member of our network is actually one of my best friends from high school, his mother. And
mhm.
she's on fire for the Lord. She's been to Jerusalem. So we can speak to Jesus about it. I don't know where I was going on. Most people go through it but cannot talk about it. That's a quote from you. And talking about earlier about the different things that we've gone through in our life that not many people want to discuss it. But do you want to elaborate on opening up to Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that what happened is I had to let him in my heart and understand that I was here for a reason, and that he's protected me for a large portion of my life, if not all of it. And so, what I did is I just started talking to him and reading and yeah, I just kept giving it to him and giving it to him, and you know, I I get to talk to him every day. I talk to him every single day, and that makes it easy for me to share with everybody else. I share
Hmm.
with him first, and I talk to him, and I get in his word, and then, and then I'm able to share it and give it to you guys.
Yeah, it's very, very good. I'm just going to scroll down here because I want to keep this centered on him. I know we kind of rushed into it, and normally I would have preferred for us to start with some prayer or some Bible verses because I don't want people to watch this and think, oh, listen to those guys talk about their horrible past, because
Well,
he saved us.
the horrible past is fine. I mean, we've all been through stuff. It's where we are now that matters. I mean, that's all that really matters. It's like we don't brag or boast and glorify our past. It's like, hey, this is what we've been through. We've been to the gutter and back. And if it wasn't for the Lord, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be conferencing right now and sharing.
Mhm.
So.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
I wanted to ask, I think I sent it to you, especially, the 6 weeks in the hospital. This is different for me because, like you're saying, day to day, praying and praying. You ever get
Hmm.
a sense of his personality? Like for me, I find that he jokes with me sometimes.
Oh, I'm sure. He's all loving, and he brings joy and peace to your heart, and if he wants to, you know, joke with you and play around with you, and to lighten the mood for you, he's gonna do. I mean, he does what he does, and for me, it's mostly just peace. It's just a lot of peace. I try to be the funny man in the relationship, so I think he gives me that.
Hmm.
So
I can understand that. I'm right now really trying to focus on my relationship with Jesus, but also with the Holy Spirit. I want to strengthen
yeah, for
that,
sure.
especially for the mind. Um, you, recently, have you ever, felt like the Spirit really come onto you? Like day to day, how does that go for you at your Christian
Well,
life?
every morning I invite the Spirit into my heart and into my life, and some days it's more powerful than others, but I think that I always find peace and trust in the fact that I know that He's there, that He won't leave me or forsake me. So,
Yes.
you know, um, even if I'm feeling a little bit off or feeling a little bit alone, I know He's there. So a lot of times, even if I don't feel something, because feelings can be deceptive too.
Hmm.
We can't always lean on our feelings. A situation or circumstance could be a certain way, but um, the way you feel about it can be different every time, and it doesn't change the situation, the way that you feel about it all the time. So, I just trust that the Holy Spirit is always there with me.
Yeah, that's really nice. Um, especially like you're saying about the feelings. Especially where we're coming from. I got a lot. Not again to focus on the past, but how people can get caught in cycles of hopelessness,
Yes.
destruction. And I know, like, we're talking about your testimony here, being broken down. I want to
Yeah.
go there because, especially, I just went through a crisis. I feel reborn many times. Um, was it this process of sanctification for you? Do you find it was all at once, or are you still going through it?
I'm being refined daily. I'm growing daily, and I believe that once I truly receive the Lord in my heart, I receive Him, and
Hmm.
I just if I ever if I ever feel broken or lost, it's like, how can I reconnect with the Lord? And that's my thing. It's like, okay, well, obviously, maybe I need to dig a little bit deeper today. Maybe I just need to trust Him a little bit more. Maybe I just need to breathe a little bit more because I know that He's right there. And sometimes I feel like a father, like, because I'm raising a son right now.
Hmm.
When you're young in the faith or you're a young son, like, you're always close to your parents, and you trust them, you lean on them, like, you're always raising your hands out to them. But as they develop and as they mature, like we do as Christians, the father can step away and kind of look from afar. And as you're learning valuable lessons in life and as you're growing, like, it may seem like the father's not there, but father's always watching, father's always paying attention.
Yes.
And that's how I look at my relationship with Christ, is the same way I look at my relationship with my son. I mean, there's going to be a point where he's 20 years old and he's in school at, Harvard, whatever, and I'm there with him. I'm his father, and I'll be there, and but we won't be so close per
Yeah.
se. But I'm his father, and I love him, and I support him. So, you kind of develop a relationship like that. I hope that analogy made sense. Um, but
Yes, it
that's how
does.
it is walking in Christ sometimes. It's like maybe he doesn't feel like he's right there, but I know that he's there, and he's a
Yes.
loving, loving father. So,
That's what I like philosophy about. When I can look at reason and logic, and with the scripture too. We have to stand on the promises that are in the Bible. Um, and sometimes, like you said, our feelings, they don't relate with reality.
right, absolutely not.
And I know we briefly talked about spiritual warfare,
Right.
and we actually have a show, United Against the Enemy. And I think we have a note about generational curses. We don't have to get
Yes.
really deep into that, but Are there times that you've seen in your life, either looking back or even more recently, that you feel the devil was attacking you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I really believe that, God was always with me. As a young man, I believe that He was with me. He knew that I was going to come to Him at some point. He's
Yes.
all knowing, right? And
Hmm.
so, I believe that He always looked over me, and the enemy had his plan too. The enemy wanted to destroy my relationship with the Father, and to destroy me. So, I believe that He was always there, and I believe that He was always with me, and I believe that the enemy wants to come in and destroy, and the destroying happens when I'm not connected to the Lord. When I have my back turned to Him, or I'm not following Him or walking with Him, reaching out to Him, then yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Not to say the enemy can't attack while my walk is strong, but he tends to attack more when you're cruising, doing your own thing in life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily including the Lord in your plans,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and I think somewheres in my notes is about seeking Him out. And sometimes we kind of do like that, kind of go our own way. Hey, I'm doing great.
Yes, for sure. Get complacent in our ways, and that's just the flesh. And yeah, for sure, it happens.
I think that's for myself, He'll attack me too. You're doing
Yeah, for sure.
okay. I have a adult attention deficit disorder.
I do
uh,
too.
And I didn't find out till I was 27, so I've been on and off
Yeah.
my medication. There are times where I wasn't on my medication, and my world's tumbling apart. That's what kind of brought me to that crisis was,
Yeah.
the smoking marijuana. I was 524 days sober, and you know how it starts. It starts with that one puff,
Yeah, yeah.
and then a joint.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And then it creeps all back in, and you're just collapsing all over again. Yep.
Mhm.
I get
Yeah.
it.
So I got here faith in God to change us. The patience, though, the aspect of listening, because it can be difficult. What do you do? Like, what's your morning ritual? Like, when you get up, what's your devotional? I know. I saw one video you like to run, and
Yeah, well, it all depends on what I'm doing first thing in the morning, but usually what I do is, I'll get up and I'll read a little scripture. I got to make my coffee and everything get going because I'm usually up at like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm off to work. So I like that my work's about 15 minutes away because it gives me time to really talk to God. It's still dark outside.
Yes.
I just turn everything off and I'm just cruising to work, and it's my time to just talk to Him and thank Him and be grateful for everything, and ask Him to show up in a major way that day. And I know that He's always with me, and just let Him know that I love Him, and forgive me for the mistakes that I make, and
Yeah.
and continue to refine me. Like my prayer every day is almost the same. It's not so repetitive, but it's it's like it's pretty consistent. Because I want to be pleasing before Him, and so that's part of my ritual.
Yeah. That's a big
do
aspect
things.
too. Yeah, to admit your
Yeah.
mistakes. It's hard to be honest
So, yeah.
with yourself, let alone God.
Yeah, well, I found that it's easy. The longer I've walked with Him, it's easier to talk to Him because I know that He's not condemning me. He may convict me for something, but He's not condemning me. And it's just like, my heart before You is that I need Your help, and I'll do my part. But, more than anything, like, I need His strength because at the end of the day, like, I'm weak in certain areas.
Yeah. What would you say? Since we're being honest, what's your greatest weakness right now? Would you say?
I think sometimes I can be selfish, and I can get I could be quick to anger sometimes, and that's not fair for the people around me.
Yeah.
Especially my wife and my son. Not that I'm like flipping off the handle, breaking things, but
Yeah.
And I think that as time goes on, even if it doesn't seem like a major outburst, it's just enough to remind you that, man, I could use some help right now.
Yeah. Especially
So.
just I find the irritability, moodiness
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, that will happen too. But that's where fitness helps me a lot, and prayer. Fitness and prayer. Even when I'm running and working out, like a lot of times I'm just talking to God, man. I'm just like, hey, thank you. And, and there's times in my workouts, man, I'll plan to do one thing, and in the middle of the workout, He'll be like, you're done. You're good. And I'll be like, okay. And I'm walking away from it for, it's, it's beyond my flesh. Like, okay, obviously I got a good enough workout, and He wants me to be done. And so just trying to listen to His voice too.
Yeah, I like that too. Like I've been trying to do that. I know we listen to different kinds of music. You're into the rap and hip hop, and I'm more into to metal. But there's something, and obviously, is with my friend Luciano. He's another guy we do podcasting with, and we were watching your videos, and he was stuck on his phone, arguing
Yeah.
with someone. I'm like, come on, man, look at this, and you're lifting
Yeah.
these 115 pounds, and
Yeah, I'm
uh,
grateful. I'm grateful for that. Like I'm glad that the Lord, has done some major healing in my body and allows me to do things like that. I mean, that's not something I do all the time,
mhm.
because it can become vain, right? It's just like, well, how much can I lift? But once in a while, it's nice to just kind of touch on it and be like, okay, I'm good. I'm good for a while. But I'm grateful. Like I thank the Lord all the time for my physical health because I almost completely destroyed it with drugs, alcohol, and a broken back.
You got some Hulk Hogan arms there, that's for sure. Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Took some time to get those, man.
Well,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just appreciate that. I think you're a couple of years older than me, but being
I'll
a
be 40
teenager.
this month, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
being,
40 in May. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
So being a teenager in the '90s is way different. I always
Hmm.
found like it was like the '60s almost, the grunge and the alternative and.
Yeah, it was different for me. Like, for me, it was hip hop. It was way different.
Hmm. Okay, let me know if you're, because we're already 25 minutes plus. It was disconnected.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the beginning.
actually my son is just waking up right now, so I'm gonna go have to grab him, and we're gonna have to do a part two to this.
Yeah, it was a good way. We rushed into it, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate the friendship too.
Oh, for
Um,
sure, Sean. Absolutely. I'm very fortunate, very blessed. Like, I know big things are going to happen for you. I know that God's going to really use what you're trying to do to reach the people. And I'm so grateful that you're allowing me to be a part of it and that you're doing so much to help me, in a sense, with the videos and really trying to promote me and my website. And I just think it's beautiful, and I'm so grateful for it.
I appreciate it too that you can see and you can feel it, and you know what? We both give thanks to Jesus Christ because He's the
Amen to
one.
that.
He's doing it. He's in the driver's seat. So
Amen to that.
I'll hit on to the outro video, and then we'll plan something else because we rushed into this. My fault. I'm balancing different things, but we're gonna have a good time, and instead of taking part of my language, but crapping into a note file, all my notes. Next time we can really jump into this, not just talking about testimony, but let's
Yeah.
get into the Word, get into sharing the gospel,
Yes.
and obviously pray. The Lord is going to lead us in this. Rob, I really
Amen.
appreciate it, brother. God
Thank you,
bless.
Sean. God bless. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And push the button. All right.